On April 15, 1912, a grand and luxurious steamship called the RMS Titanic faced a truly terrifying tragedy. It sank in the cold waters of the North Atlantic near Newfoundland, Canada, during its very first journey. At 2:20 a.m., this disaster claimed the lives of over 1,500 of the 2,240 people on board. Today we're going to delve into 10 truly terrifying facts about the Titanic. Number 10. There wasn't enough lifeboats, but they didn't even use all they had. Due to the grievous safety errors and overconfidence in the ship's durability, the Titanic was only stocked with 18 lifeboats, each with a total capacity of 65 people. That meant that 1,170 people could fit in the lifeboats, which is all well and good until you consider that the ship had a total population of 3,457 people. What made this worse was that Captain Edward Smith allowed lifeboats to leave without being fully stocked. He let a lifeboat with a capacity of 65 to leave with 27 people. Number 9. A book predicted the Titanic disaster 14 years earlier. 14 years before the disaster of the Titanic in 1898, a book was written by author Morgan Robertson called The Wreck of the Titan. It detailed the voyage of a ship called the Titan, which crashes into an iceberg in April and has a massive loss of life due to a shortage of lifeboats. This is creepily similar to the Titanic, down to the name, month on which the ship sank, where it sank, and even specifics about the ship's equipment, also with speed and sized. Even thought Titan was 244 meters long, compared to Titanic, which was 269 meters. Many people ascribed Robertson with precognition and clairvoyance, all of which he denied. Number 8. The brave musicians played music to try to calm passengers. Many brave acts were committed on the dreadful night of the sinking, one of which is owed to the 14 musicians of the Titanic: Theodore Brayley, Roger Bricoux, John Clark, Wallace Hartley, John Woodward, Percy Taylor, John Hume and George Crins. All of these men were heroes and have been memorized for their actions. After hearing that the ship was sinking, they accepted their fate, and in order to try and settle the panicking and pained passengers in their final hours, they played their instruments with legendary vigor, bold and defiant of the cold waters coming to claim them. This action greatly settled the crowd and provided them with comfort in a time of distress. A survivor of the tragedy quoted this: "Many brave things were done that night, but none was more brave than those done by men playing minute after minute as the ship settled quietly lower and lower into the sea."
Gentlemen, it has been a privilege playing with you tonight.
Number 7. The Daily Mail got it wrong. The Daily Mail, based in London, was the first newspaper to hear of the event. They were able to inform the world that the Titanic had sunk. However, somehow they completely skimmed over the fact that there was a disastrous death toll by reporting that there were no deaths, and there was a completely successful rescue. How on earth they managed to remain oblivious to the utter disaster that occurred, I will never know. Number 6. Japan's only Titanic survivor was hated by his own county because he survived. A hard-working member of the Japanese Transport Ministry, Masabumi Hosono, boarded the Titanic with the intention of traveling back to his homeland following a business trip in Russia. After the ship crashed into the fateful iceberg, Masabumi was doubtful that he would survive and wrote a letter to his wife in order to record his final moments. Luckily for Masabumi, there was a spare space on a lifeboat near him, and he ushered on. Due to his lucky escape and the fact he was the only Japanese passenger on the ship when he returned to his country of birth, he was greeted with a fair amount of media attention and became a minor celebrity. This fame was short-lived, however, as back in the United States, a first-class passenger named Archibald Gracie wrote a vicious commentary on him, falsely denouncing him as a stowaway. This turned the tide on Masabumi in Japan, with many newspapers stating he was a weak man who allowed others to die in order to save his own skin, and that he should have sacrificed himself to aid others. Due to the fact that Japanese culture at that time had a large focus on honor, These ideas forced many people against him and resulted in him losing his job. While he managed to reclaim his job, he was still hated until the day he died in 1939. Number 5. The ship's baker survived the freezing cold by drinking whiskey. Despite that, the main factor of death in the sinking of the Titanic was hypothermia over drowning Charles Jochen. The ship's baker claimed that he was able to withstand the hypothermia by drinking obscene amounts of whiskey on the ship. As well as this, he displayed remarkable stamina by treading water that was -2.2 degrees Celsius for 2 hours. The only damage this inflicted upon him was swollen feet, and he did not require medical attention afterwards. Number 4. Millionaire Benjamin Guggenheim allowed others to take his seat on the lifeboats. One of the wealthiest passengers aboard the ship was Benjamin Guggenheim, an American businessman. When he and his valet Victor Gigilo were informed of the ship crashing, they were extremely nonchalant about the event, perceiving it as a minor inconvenience. They allowed other passengers to occupy their seats on the lifeboats, and when they discovered that they were likely going to die, they were still without a care in the world about the situation. They both dressed up in their finest clothes and were spotted sinking into the ocean, sitting on deck chairs while smoking cigars. Other passengers even stated that Benjamin said,
"No, thank you. We are dressed in our best and are prepared to go down as gentlemen."
Another factor who had a similar fate was Jacob Astor. After helping his pregnant wife into a lifeboat he was about to get in, however, he spotted 2 drenched passengers behind him and allowed them to take his place. This action immediately signed his death sentence, and similarly to Guggenheim, he was last seen having a smoke. Number 3. Countess Noel Leslie took charge of a lifeboat and saved many lives. Noel Leslie, Countess of Rother, was another passenger with a heart of a hero. While her lifeboat was awash with panic, she took leadership of the situation and assisted the crew in navigating the freezing waters. Her actions gained her instantaneous respect from the crew and passengers, and as a token of appreciation, she was given the brass lifeboat number by the crew to commemorate her act. Not once did she stop rowing except when she comforted a hysterical wife that had watched her husband die in front of her. Number 2. The Titanic was plagued by tragedy from the start. The Titanic faced tragedy right from the beginning. While it was being built, 8 people lost their lives. National Geographic reports that out of these 8 individuals, we only know the names of 5. Samuel Scott, John Kelly, William Clark, James Dobbin, and Robert Murphy. In 2012, a plaque was put up in Belfast to remember and honor these 8 men. Number 1. A lucky few bought tickets but never boarded the ship. Some lucky individuals had tickets for the Titanic but didn't actually get on the ship. These included people like Milton Hershey, J.P. Morgan, and Guglielmo Marconi. After the Titanic sank, newspapers started listing those who had tickets but didn't board, calling them the Just Missed It Club. Milton Hershey decided to take an earlier ship home with his wife. J. Pierpont Morgan chose to stay at a French spa instead of boarding the Titanic. Guglielmo Marconi, who was an inventor, also caught an earlier ship. One day, the Titanic's structure will completely collapse, leaving behind only fragments of its once magnificent existence. Let's remember it not just for the tragedy, but also for the lives, stories, and empathy it continues to inspire. If you found this video interesting, please support us by liking, commenting, and subscribing to our channel. We really appreciate your support. See you in our next video.